Alright guys, Subscriber here, back again. You know what time it is. Another few announcements to discuss, and also a big piece of potential drama that has been going on behind the scenes over the last couple of weeks related to the Los Angeles OpTic team and also the Chicago team. We're going to go into that today. Very interesting stuff. I guess the last few weeks really have been lacking in terms of drama. A lot more rumors, a lot more news, announcements starting to come out. But drama, the sort of things that happen when the season is underway, has kind of been a bit underwhelming right over the last few weeks. So today, there's definitely something to talk about with potentially big implications for how we're going to see teams perform next season, and always interesting to know things that potentially could go on behind the scenes, especially when it comes to intra-player conflicts. So let's get on with the video. Like if you guys enjoy, subscribe if you are new as always. Firstly, thanks to Cesar for pointing this out to me. Team Heretics announced that Journey is going to be leaving them. Been a long road full of good times, and it hurts us not being able to continue living together. Thank you, Journey. So yeah, keep working as before and you will fulfill your dream. They did the same thing the other day for Lucky. I believe it was, maybe it was Metals actually, and yeah, well, we don't know where Journey's rumoured to be going. I'm pretty sure he's not rumoured to the Toronto team like Metals is. I forget exactly where Journey is rumoured to go. I think he's a substitute for, I don't know where he's been rumoured, maybe something like New York or Florida or Minnesota, one of those teams. I forget exactly what it is. If you guys can remember, then leave it down in the comment section below. Moving on to Douglas Censor Martin, we know that tomorrow on Thursday at 1 PM Eastern time, apparently, he's going to do an announcement related to a franchise spot that he potentially is on. Touchdown in Houston, he says. Really excited for the week. The things are going to be announced that have been on my mind. It's crazy the reality that is happening now. Classic Dud Censor Martin tweet, to be honest. Also, though, this comment here from his father. Where do you want to be 1 year today in the new Florida Key condo? And yeah, MVN shooter. Kind of saying that maybe Florida could be a potential home for Censor. If he is in Florida, then he won't be on the starting team as far as we're aware, because that team is Frosty, Havoc, Skies, Morks, and Pristini, I think, is the rumoured squad. So maybe he'd be on the bench there, but, you know, nothing to really read into that one there. But the bigger thing to read into is when we look at his profile here. A few people pointed this out to me, that Censor has taken FaZe Clan out of his bio in its entirety. So FaZe Censor no longer here. Also, I believe his Instagram, he was talking a couple of weeks ago, maybe a few days ago actually, I lose track of time. He was saying that he'd offered like 10 grand for the @Censor Instagram handle. It seems like he's now got that. FaZe is out of his bio and out of his name on Instagram, out of his bio on Twitter as well. So pretty much confirming that FaZe is not going to be part of Censor's career going forwards. Of course, been with FaZe so long. And in the past, he's been able to compete on organizations, but also still retain FaZe membership in terms of content creation and things along these lines. Doesn't look like it's going to be happening this time. I guess this the kind of contracts you have to sign for these new CDL organizations will not allow you to be members of other organizations and this kind of stuff. It definitely makes sense, but definitely more confirmation if you didn't already believe Censor that he is indeed on a team somewhere. Where that will be, of course, we will find out in the next 24 hours or so, hopefully. Now also, just before we get into this rumour, or this drama really related to Los Angeles OpTic and Chicago, thought we'd go through this. Slasher back in business in 10 short days, so 10 days until Modern Warfare releases, in fact 9 days from when I'm recording this madness. Kenny replies to him, TJ replies to that, right? And this is part of the rumoured team. Slasher, Kenny, TJ, Dashy, and JCap is the rumour. And that's exactly what we're going to go on to in just a couple of minutes' time. Just before we get there, though, Hook has been officially confirmed onto the Dallas team. I won't play you the video now. I'll leave it for the end of the video because I want to get into this drama, right? But yeah, so the video has announced Hook onto the Dallas team, as expected, joining alongside Clayster, Shotzi, and the rumoured rest of the team is meant to be Illy and Crimsic. So a pretty good announcement video again. Of course, I'm sure you guys have mixed opinions on Hook, and we will see, of course, how he goes this season, whether he can get a championship under his belt, whether there's even going to be championships, who even knows how the season's going to be run. We'll have to see as we go forwards. Anyway, so yeah, Hook, not really too much to say here apart from his header. I think that's why I brought this one up. Let's go on to this drama then. So sources have informed me that I've missed reporting, this is Kroenke, Intel, on a situation that happened with OpTic LA and or Chicago. It could be bait, unsure if it's anything to do with the starting five. A couple of, maybe an hour or so later, update. Sources tell me Dashy signs to Los Angeles OpTic, then asked to be traded to Chicago. OpTic obviously refused, and Dashy allegedly threatened to bench himself. To my knowledge, the rosters are still the same. This was last week and it seems everyone is over it. Just some inside info for you guys. Just to have a look at these couple of tweets he mentions here. So these are from, I'm guessing this is the 4th of October. Just want to make sure we're getting the countries right. Kroenke's from New Zealand, so they do it the same way as in the UK. 4th of October at Blast, how quickly it changes. Please say psych, wish I was trolling. Haha, you'll find out soon enough, brother. And another one right here, I could really use the time stone right now, 6 days ago from whenever this screenshot was taken. So let's dive into this in a little bit more detail here. We know now, of course, these tweets are coming out about 4th of October, a couple of weeks ago. This is around about the time when the MUDOG announcements was happening, right, with the OpTic Gaming stuff, and there was a lot of negative backlash, right, against OpTic Gaming. Now, I wonder when exactly these contracts had been signed, right, because Dashy may have signed this contract with Los Angeles OpTic a long time ago, but it's interesting, really, to think about what kind of pretenses he thought that he was going to be signing those contracts under. Kroenke says this happened last week, so maybe it's a recent thing. Maybe it is related to the whole brand image that OpTic now has, especially after the MUDOG situation where, that kind of went down and all of the stuff, the community pretty much turned against OpTic. Hector was announced onto NRG, and they were like, okay, don't call the green wall, all of this stuff. And Dashy kind of finds himself in the mix of that, thinking like, I just signed this contract, this isn't what I expected kind of thing, and is then maybe thinking, well, what am I doing here? At the same time, it could have happened much earlier when Scump and Formal maybe were planning to sign with OpTic, depending on what happened with Hector. I don't really believe this one as much. I really don't think it was ever on their radar to be signing with OpTic, but who knows? Possibly. Now, let's just imagine that for a second, that Scump and Formal were thinking of signing with OpTic. Dashy's there thinking, class, I can still play with Scump, still play with Formal, keep all the fan base, right? And then, maybe he signs his contract, then Scump and Formal follow Hector over to this NRG Chicago squad, and Dashy's left on his own. But I'm guessing this is something that's been in the works for a while, so if this is something that's happened last week, I don't really think that's what happened. I think maybe it's more to do with the whole brand situation that has really fallen apart over the last couple of weeks or so. So, let's look at it from the Chicago perspective. What I'm hearing is that this Chicago trade would probably have been for Gunless on that team. So the Chicago squad, just to break it down, Scump, Formal, Arcetes, Envoy, and of course Gunless. Now let's look at it from their perspective for just a second here. So, Dashy comes to them and is like, well, maybe he comes to Scump or something behind the scenes. He's like, okay, I don't want to be on this team. Can I potentially get traded? He may have even said this before he went to his own organization. Probably did. That's how things tend to work, right, with friendships and all this stuff. So let's say Dashy goes to Scump and he's like, I just signed this contract, but is there any way you'd potentially consider a change? He's maybe like, maybe I could swap out for Gunless, right? Gunless maybe is the best player that I could switch out with on that team in terms of the roles, right? With Arcetes being a main AR kind of figure. Then again, Arcetes and Formal both kind of potentially sharing that role. But then Gunless, Dashy could be similar kind of players depending on what roles they want to use. Now, let's say Chicago, and as far as I understand, Chicago were kind of down with that, or at least a few players in Chicago. I can imagine Scump especially would have been like, well, yeah, hell yeah, let's get Dashy into the team. And Formal, of course, reuniting with Gunless after the LG debacle of the last season. I'm surprised he's reuniting anyway, so if there was anyone on the potential chopping block, it would be Gunless. So what if Chicago were said back to Dashy, okay, if you can get it figured out, we're happy to trade off Gunless to Los Angeles OpTic. At least that's what the rumoured team name is at the current time. So then Dashy goes to OpTic, goes to Immortals, like, can I get this trade? Really want to do it. Like, I know I just signed the contract 2 weeks ago, but I guess can I have this? Please have this trade, mister. And they're like, why would we do that? There's a reason you've been on OpTic this season. There's a reason why you've been probably top 2 best players in the game. Of course, Gunless is up there, but Dashy undoubtedly was the bigger force, right, throughout the Black Ops 4 season. So why would they allow this trade? Doesn't really make any sense, especially given the Dashy TJ kind of duo ship that we've had over this last season. OpTic refuse, and then Dashy goes, nah, mate, I'm not having this. I'm sitting on the bench. And then apparently they've all worked it out right. But this kind of reminds me, and we'll have a look at a couple of Reddit comments here. So firstly, this one from username 111, etc. I don't want to read that whole thing out, but Back in the World War II days, I believe Enigma 6 had a very similar thing. Someone needs to sit down with Dashy and teach him how contracts work. Second time he's tried to go back on something he's signed. Now, look, we don't know exactly when this whole debacle happened. It's possible that it happened a long time ago when the whole, maybe he was thinking that Scump and Former would sign. He ended up signing too early, but, you know, that would be something that is completely on him, and it's completely on him regardless, right? There's really nothing you can do about it. Once you've signed a contract, you are locked in. You are then at the discretion of the organization and the discretion of that contract that you've signed. So it's not so easy just to hop out of these things. And you know, this also could be one of the reasons, as I talked about, maybe freaked out when he saw the old OpTic fans' reactions to Mudog's video. He was looking like the next face of CoD this year. Doubt that happens if he's stayed with Immortals, which it looks like he has, right? This team is going to be the villains. It's crazy to see how Dashy and TJ went from being two of the most lauded players throughout the Black Ops 4 season to the majority of, I guess, OpTic fans and people who are now going to be NRG fans, of course, are probably going down a different route. And those guys are not going to be on the side of Dashy and TJ. Because first of all, they're teaming with Slasher and Kenny, then I've kind of villainous lectures about them anyway, and then they're teaming with JCap, at least that is the rumour, and we know that JCap has historically been on Envy and that, been kind of an OpTic killer to some degree. Of course, was on OpTic way back in the day, but in more recent times, he's kind of done quite well against OpTic historically. Filling that team out on the old Immortals, OpTic lineup, or at least the name, is kind of a shell of its former self. There's no more family involvement there. It's really just a name, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of backlash against. There's already been backlash, right, against the organisation, against Immortals. You know, to what degree are we going to see backlash against the players? I think that that's going to happen to some degree as well. And with Dashy and TJ being on the potential receiving end of that, is something that I didn't expect to happen after the season, but I think it's very, very likely now. And I wonder how many fans Dashy and TJ will retain, given the whole NRG OpTic situation. I'm sure most people who are fans of that OpTic team last season will move on to NRG, hashtag NR Green Wall, or whatever they're going to call themselves. So yeah, thought that was a pretty damn interesting bit of drama that I go through today. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I'll leave you with a Huke video as an outro, and I'll see you next time.